Welcome to Checks and Balances. I'm Michael Vincent. This is James Blair, and this week, fake finance news.
So Mike, in the fake news game, it is, funnily enough, fake news is all about getting attention. We've used the term fake news to try and get attention.
Yeah.
Shame on us, we're hypocrites. This topic comes from one of our advisors here at Lighthouse, Hayley Robertson. She sent me a screenshot of her Stuff newsfeed saying, could KiwiSaver refresh widen gender divide? Why saving enough could lead to retirement anxiety? Your questions answered. How do I know what I'm investing in? And Mike, I mean, it's in all parts of media, but we're seeing it more and more in finance. And I know you have a couple of recent examples with some lending changes. The media and how they display these topics can have a huge impact about how people think about money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that is compounded by the fact, unfortunately, that people are becoming more aware of their finances and what they should do with them and taking a more hands-on approach. So they are less likely to ask a professional for advice or think there are some barriers to asking a professional for advice. So they look at a headline, think, I've got to react, I've got to do something. It's either fear of missing out or fear that I'm making the wrong decision here. They pull the pin, shift the KiwiSaver from growth to conservative as the market's tanked, and all of a sudden you've crystallized that loss.
It's a really good point in terms of how there's so much more accessibility in the market in terms of online banking, apps, Cheques accounts, where it's so easy and cheap to make decisions, but they can be quite impulsive decisions, right?
Right. You look at that as an example. You imagine if we had KiwiSaver 50 years ago. If I went to shift my if the market had tanked and I went to shift my KiwiSaver from growth to conservative, I would probably have to call up an investment advisor, a stockbroker, something, one of the above, a financial advisor to...
Let's start with the facts.
Yeah, have that sort of, have that order executed. There would be a discussion around why do you want to do this? Is this the right thing to do? Nowadays, you can just go online and click a button and change that the investment strategy, and all of a sudden, it's sort of, you have a lot more access. Doesn't necessarily mean you're making the right decisions.
100%. And when we're thinking investing, a lot of the times means doing nothing opposed to doing lots. We get reports every week for our clients who've changed their own KiwiSaver funds.
Yeah.
And we're kind of being like, why did you do this? I mean, Cheques must have some really interesting numbers at the moment with volatility in terms of how much people are transacting. But let me ask you, Mike. So the first bit is how easily everything is available in terms of being able to make a decision.
Yeah.
Then there's the media side, right? And in terms of their job is to try and get interest in a topic to try and,
Well, their job is to sell newspapers, right?
Yeah.
Or sell headlines and get you to click on an article. Unfortunately, what that means, for example, is that sometimes people don't make a decision. So we have a really good example in the lending space with the triple CFA regulation. A lot of headlines around, someone got declined because they went to Uber Eats once, or they spent too much at Kmart, or they got a Netflix subscription. Look, that is just a headline.
Bollocks.
That may have been what they were told. However, if the fundamentals of an application are there, you will not get declined. Banks are still in the business of lending money. They still want your home loan. They still want record profits at the end of the quarter. So it is one thing to see that, hey, look, this person got declined. There's a bit of a headline. There's a bit of a sob story about it. Yeah, okay, fine. However, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a discussion with a financial advisor, a banker, a broker about getting a mortgage, and if that same situation would apply to you.
So what are you seeing at the moment in terms of your clients and they're reading these things?
Yeah.
Is it widespread in terms of people? I saw one, ANZ predicts interest rates to go to 10%. I've had those sort of, are you having people call you about those sort of headlines?
Yeah, constantly, right? So the really common ones for me are the triple CFA stuff. House prices are crashing, I don't want to buy now. But I also get that on the way up. House prices are too high, it's all over the media, I don't want to buy now. Yeah, I'm going to wait for it to drop. I'm like, when is this perfect time that you're going to buy? I guess probably the other more one we get a little bit now is, look, triple CFA regulation is going to be rolled back later in the year. I'm going to wait for that to roll back because it will be easier for me to get money. Let me tell you that the banks just increased their test rates this week by between 0.3 and 0.5%, which makes it a lot harder for you to get money. So the more you're waiting, or the more you're not making these decisions or speaking to a financial advisor about it, a lot of the time you just end up in the wrong.
I'll just ask you quickly, Mike. Test rates, what does that mean?
So when we look at a mortgage application, or when a bank looks at a mortgage application, let's say the market rate is 5% or 5.5%, they stress test the mortgage, so they run the same calculations for that amount of lending. So say 800,000 at 5%, they will also run it at 7.5% or 7.3%, just to make sure that if interest rates increase a little bit, you can still afford the mortgage. And that's just part of their responsible lending, due diligence, that sort of thing. They have increased those rates in line with recent interest rate hikes, which has, for some applications, it's trimmed off 200K off the top of the approval.
Wow.
Yep.
That's pretty material. So on the investing side, I mean, the main ones we hear about is going, not sure about inflation, interest rates, Russia, Ukraine conflict, and COVID with a new variant. I think we will decide not to invest, or we're going to move into cash. We're not going to make a decision. Now, the big question with all of these headlines, which you're getting baited into taking seriously. In fact, I was talking to a lady last week. She said the word recession to me 3 times in 2 minutes and spoke about it as if we were in a recession. And I don't blame her. I think she's read something, she's been scared by it and decided that's what's going to happen. But the main thing to go is what you're trying to work out in all of these situations, Mike, is what is the right thing for me? What should I be doing? And the answer is we don't know. Anybody who tells you they know what's going to happen next, although we do give predictions sometimes, they don't know what's going to happen next. They might go, based off this information, this is what I think is going to happen, but markets go in cycles, interest rates move up and down over time. When it comes to investing in property, we're thinking about 10-year horizons. The same when we were investing in shares.
Yep.
You got to think about how much risk you can tolerate, so how much of a drop you're comfortable with, making sure that you're diversified and thinking about, does this short-term implication impact my ability to achieve my goals?
Yeah, absolutely. And the short of the long is speak to your financial advisor, speak to your investment advisor, speak to your mortgage broker. If you're thinking of hanging off a decision like getting into the market or going into the market, selling, buying, changing risk assets, something like that, speak to your financial advisor, your mortgage broker about it. They'll be able to give you some advice.
And if you don't want to talk to an advisor for whatever reason, look at more than one place for proof of whatever's being said. Hey, that Reddit forum might not be right. You never know. On that note, we will wrap it up. Please make sure to subscribe, give us a review. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.